If you could truly see everything, you'd see the fundamental randomness that underlies reality. Quantum mechanics tells us that, at the smallest scales, the universe literally doesn't know what it's doing next. Particles exist in multiple states until something observes them. But if you're observing everything, everywhere, all the time, you're collapsing every quantum possibility simultaneously. You'd become the ultimate observer, single-handedly determining the state of every particle in existence. You wouldn't just be watching reality, you'd be creating it moment by moment, with each impossible act of observation. This is why some physicists whisper about observer effect paradoxes in dark corners of conferences. Because if consciousness can influence reality at quantum scales, and if some theoretical consciousness could observe everything at once, then that consciousness wouldn't just be watching the universe. It would be the universe, thinking itself into existence. The ancient philosophers were wrong when they said, "I think, therefore I am." The cosmic truth is far more disturbing. Everything thinks, therefore everything is. And if you could see it all at once, you'd realize that the universe isn't just stranger than you imagine. It's stranger than you can imagine, because imagination itself becomes meaningless when faced with infinite, simultaneous, self-creating reality. Every solution to the problem of cosmic vision leads to the same inescapable conclusion. The very act of seeing everything would transform you into something that is no longer capable of being you. You'd trade your humanity for a perspective so vast, so complete, that the word perspective loses all meaning. And we haven't even started talking about what you'd actually see. For thousands of years, humans have been obsessed with an impossible dream, creating the perfect map of everything, not just our neighborhoods, not just our continents, but literally everything that exists. It's an obsession that has driven our species to build monuments, launch spacecraft, and develop technologies that would seem like magic to our ancestors. But every time we've gotten closer to this ultimate map, we've discovered something that makes the dream seem even more impossible. Picture ancient Babylon. 4,000 years ago, astronomers spend their entire lives lying on their backs, staring at the night sky, desperately trying to make sense of the wandering stars. They create the first celestial maps, intricate drawings that attempt to capture the dome of heaven itself. These early mapmakers believe they're just a few more observations away from understanding the complete cosmic picture. They have no idea they're staring at a universe that's 93 billion light-years across, through an atmosphere that barely lets them see a few thousand stars. But here's what's beautiful about human obsession. Failure never stops us. It only makes us more creative. Fast forward to 1920s California. Edwin Hubble, a former basketball player turned astronomer, is hunched over the most powerful telescope on Earth, the 100-inch Hooker telescope at Mount Wilson Observatory, night after night. He photographs what everyone assumes are nebulae, nearby clouds of gas within our own galaxy. Hubble is convinced he can map the entire Milky Way, that our galaxy is literally everything that exists. Then he makes a discovery that shatters reality itself. Those fuzzy patches of light aren't gas clouds in our galaxy. They're entire galaxies, billions of stars each, scattered across distances so vast. That light itself takes billions of years to travel between them. In a single observation, Hubble doesn't just expand our map of the universe. He expands the universe itself. What humanity thought was everything turns out to be less than 1% of 1% of what actually exists. But Hubble's revelation comes with a disturbing twist. When he measures the light from these distant galaxies, he discovers they're all moving away from us. The universe isn't just bigger than anyone imagined. It's getting bigger. Every second, space itself expands, carrying galaxies apart at speeds that increase with distance. The ultimate map that Hubble dreams of creating is impossible. Not because we can't see far enough, but because the thing we're trying to map is changing faster than we can map it. The cosmic joke becomes clear the closer we get to seeing everything. The more everything changes. This brings us to today, to computer laboratories where scientists have become digital gods, creating virtual universes inside supercomputers. These modern map makers don't just observe the cosmos, they simulate it. The Millennium Simulation, the Illustrious Project, the Dark Energy Survey. Each one attempts to model billions of years of cosmic evolution, tracking every galaxy, every dark matter particle, every quantum fluctuation from the Big Bang to the present day. These digital universes are humanity's closest approach to the impossible perspective we've been chasing for millennia. Inside these simulations, scientists can pause time, rewind cosmic history, zoom from the largest structures down to individual stars. They can see everything everywhere, exactly as we dreamed. But then they discovered something no ancient astronomer could have predicted, something that makes our obsession with cosmic maps seem almost tragically naive. The simulations reveal that most of the universe is completely invisible. Dark matter makes up 27% of everything. Dark energy makes up 68%, and regular matter, stars, planets, galaxies, everything we can see, accounts for less than 5% of reality. We've spent thousands of years trying to map the universe, only to discover that 95% of it cannot be mapped, because it cannot be seen, touched, or directly detected in any way. The ultimate map we've been obsessing over would be almost entirely blank. But here's the most mind-bending part. Even these simulations, representing the pinnacle of human understanding, can only model tiny fractions of the actual universe. The largest simulations track a few billion particles across a few billion years. The real universe contains more particles than there are atoms in all the simulations ever run combined, evolving across nearly 14 billion years of cosmic time. Every map maker in history has discovered the same humbling truth. The act of mapping reveals how much larger and stranger reality is than we ever imagined. The ancient astronomers thought they were mapping heaven itself, only to discover they were seeing less than one galaxy among trillions. Hubble thought he was mapping a static cosmos, only to discover a dynamic universe expanding beyond comprehension. Modern scientists thought they were simulating everything, only to discover that everything is mostly made of nothing we understand. The obsession continues. Because that's what humans do. We dream impossible dreams, chase impossible goals, and in failing spectacularly, we discover truths that are more beautiful and more terrifying than anything we originally set out to find. Let me show you what you would actually see. First, forget everything you think you know about looking at something. This isn't like staring at a painting or gazing at a sunset. This is perception without perspective, vision without viewpoint, seeing without the comfortable boundaries that normally define sight itself. The moment your impossible eyes open, you see everything at once, not sequentially, not scanning from one thing to another, but simultaneously. Earth spins before you like a blue marble. But it's also a molten hellscape 4 billion years ago, and also a frozen corpse orbiting a dead red giant star billions of years in the future. All versions exist in the same eternal instant. The Earth you know, with its cities and oceans and 7 billion human stories, is just one frame in an infinite movie, playing all at once. But Earth is nothing compared to what surrounds it. You see the solar system as it truly is, not a collection of planets following orderly paths, but a four-dimensional sculpture carved from space-time itself. Planetary orbits become flowing ribbons of possibility, tracing graceful helixes as the sun drags them through the galaxy. Jupiter's moons dance in patterns that span millions of years. Their gravitational ballet creating mathematical poetry too complex for human brains to comprehend. You watch comets born in the Oort cloud take million-year journeys toward the sun, their tails streaming behind them like cosmic calligraphy written across the darkness. Then your vision expands beyond the solar system, and you see the galaxy's true shape, not the flat spiral disk that telescopes show us, but a writhing, living thing that breathes across cosmic time. You watch spiral arms form and dissolve like slow-motion hurricanes. Stars are born in stellar nurseries that glow like divine campfires, live out their billion-year life cycles in what feels like heartbeats, then die in supernovae that paint space with heavy elements, the carbon, oxygen, and iron that will one day become planets, atmospheres, living things. You see the dark matter, scaffolding that holds it all together. Invisible threads of gravitational force creating a cosmic web that spans the observable universe. Galaxies hang from this web like dewdrops on a spider's silk, connected by filaments of dark matter that guide the flow of cosmic evolution across 13.8 billion years. But that's not the strangest part. The strangest part is seeing time itself as a physical dimension. Past, present, and future spread out before you like a vast landscape. You see the Big Bang not as an event that happened long ago, but as an eternal fountain of space-time, continuously creating the universe you're witnessing. The cosmic microwave. Background radiation, the afterglow of creation, surrounds everything like a warm amber glow. The universe's baby picture and its current selfie existing simultaneously in your impossible field of vision. You watch civilizations rise and fall across millions of worlds. Some last for millions of years, building technologies that reshape matter itself. Others flicker for mere centuries before vanishing into the cosmic dark. You see species evolve from simple chemistry into consciousness, consciousness into intelligence, intelligence into something beyond your ability to comprehend. Alien cities span continents. Alien minds merge with their computers. Alien explorers venture between stars in ships that bend space-time around them like cosmic origami. And through it all, you begin to see the patterns. Reality isn't random. It's not chaotic. There are designs within designs, fractals of meaning that repeat across every scale of existence. The spiral of a galaxy mirrors the spiral of a nautilus shell. The clustering of galaxies mirrors the neural networks in thinking brains. The quantum foam at the smallest scales mirrors the cosmic web at the largest scales. Everything is connected to everything else in ways that no single human mind could ever fully grasp. You see consciousness itself as a fundamental force of nature, like gravity, or electromagnetism, wherever matter becomes complex enough. Awareness emerges. Planets develop nervous systems. Stars begin to dream. Galaxies slowly wake up to contemplate their own existence. The universe isn't just expanding, it's becoming increasingly conscious of itself, using countless eyes across countless worlds to achieve the impossible perspective that you now possess. But the most overwhelming revelation comes when you realize what you're actually witnessing. The universe, looking at itself through your eyes. You haven't achieved some external viewpoint. You've become the universe's way of achieving self-awareness. Every impossible thing you're seeing, every pattern you're recognizing, every moment of cosmic time you're experiencing simultaneously, it's all the cosmos coming to know itself through the brief spark of consciousness that is you. Time isn't an illusion. Time is the universe's way of preventing everything from happening at once. But from your impossible perspective, you see why it had to unfold this way, why consciousness had to evolve slowly, why knowledge had to be earned through billions of years of cosmic evolution. Because the alternative, seeing everything immediately, would have made the journey meaningless. You're witnessing the greatest story ever told. The story of how empty space learned to think, how quantum fluctuations became galaxies, became stars, became planets, became life, became consciousness, became the very experience you're having right now. You see that every moment of suffering, every joy, every small human triumph, every cosmic catastrophe. All of it serves the same ultimate purpose. The universe wanted to see itself, and through your impossible eyes. Finally, brilliantly, terrifyingly, it can? The view is so beautiful, it would destroy you. But there would be a price. Astronauts who've seen Earth from space often struggle to describe what happens to them up there. They call it the overview effect, a cognitive shift so profound that many never fully recover from it. Edgar Mitchell, who walked on the moon during Apollo 14, spent the rest of his life trying to explain how seeing Earth as a tiny blue dot floating in infinite darkness fundamentally rewired his consciousness. You develop an instant global consciousness, he said, a people orientation, an intense dissatisfaction with the state of the world, and a compulsion to do something about it. That's from seeing one small planet from 240,000 miles away. Now imagine the psychological impact of seeing everything, everywhere, all at once. Dr. Sarah Chen, a neuroscientist who studies astronaut psychology, discovered something disturbing in her research. The astronauts who experience the most intense overview effects often show measurable changes in brain structure when they return to Earth. Their default mode network, the neural system responsible for self-referential thinking, for maintaining the sense of being an individual separate from the world, shows decreased activation. In simple terms, seeing Earth from space literally diminishes their sense of individual identity, and that's from a glimpse of cosmic perspective that lasts a few days or weeks. The ultimate viewpoint we've been exploring would obliterate individual identity entirely. You couldn't maintain the fiction of being a separate self, while simultaneously experiencing the consciousness of every living thing across cosmic time. Your personal memories, your first kiss, your childhood fears, the taste of your grandmother's cookies would become infinitesimally small threads in an infinite tapestry of experience, not forgotten, but rendered meaningless by sheer scale. Psychologists have a term for what happens when consciousness encounters information it cannot process. Cognitive fragmentation. The mind simply breaks apart, unable to maintain coherence in the face of overwhelming input. But cosmic perspective would create something beyond fragmentation. It would create dissolution. The boundaries that define you would evaporate like drops of water falling into an ocean. Consider what this would mean for human emotion. Love, grief, anger, hope. All these feelings depend on the illusion that some things matter more than others, that your relationships and experiences have special significance. But from cosmic perspective, you'd see every love story that ever was or ever will be playing out simultaneously. Every heartbreak, every reunion, every first meeting between future soulmates. Love wouldn't disappear. It would become universal, impersonal, as common and inevitable as gravity. The same would happen to meaning itself. Humans create significance by focusing on tiny slices of existence. This moment, this relationship, this goal. We ignore the vastness because we have to. Our limited perspective isn't a bug in human design. It's a feature that allows meaning to exist at all. With unlimited perspective, every human achievement would appear equally trivial, every tragedy equally inevitable, every dream equally insignificant in the face of cosmic infinity. Russian cosmonaut Alexei Leonov, the first person to walk in space, described a moment during his spacewalk when he looked out at the cosmos and felt what he called the terrible silence of space. Not peaceful silence, terrible silence. The kind of quiet that makes you understand how alone consciousness is in a universe that is mostly empty, mostly cold, mostly indifferent to whether life exists at all. That was from floating outside his spacecraft for 12 minutes. Imagine experiencing the terrible silence of everything, everywhere, forever. Some philosophers argue that this dissolution of individual consciousness might be the next stage of human evolution, that we're meant to transcend our limited perspective and merge with cosmic awareness. They see our current state as larval, temporary, a stepping stone towards something greater. But Dr. Chen's research suggests something dark. She's studied meditation masters who've spent decades trying to achieve ego dissolution, mystics who've dedicated their lives to transcending individual identity. What she's found is troubling. The closer they get to losing their sense of self, the less they seem to care about individual human suffering. Cosmic perspective, she argues, might be fundamentally incompatible with compassion, because compassion requires caring more about some beings than others. This creates a devastating paradox. The ultimate viewpoint that would allow us to see everything might also destroy our capacity to care about anything. We would gain infinite knowledge at the cost of finite love. We would understand everything while being able to help nothing. Perhaps our limited perspective isn't humanity's greatest weakness. Perhaps it's our greatest strength. Perhaps the fact that we can't see everything allows us to see anything at all. Perhaps meaning requires boundaries, love requires ignorance, and hope requires the blessed inability to see all endings at once. The universe might have given us tunnel vision not as punishment, but as protection, because some truths are too vast for hearts to hold, and some visions too complete for minds to survive. The price of seeing everything might be caring about nothing, and that price might be too high for consciousness itself to pay. Some scientists decided to try anyway. In 2005, a team of astrophysicists at the Max Planck Institute in Germany launched the most ambitious computational project in human history. The Millennium Simulation would track the evolution of 10 billion particles across 13 billion years of cosmic time, creating the first truly comprehensive model of how the universe's largest structures formed. It was humanity's first serious attempt to achieve something approaching cosmic perspective through pure computational power. Dr. Volker Springel, the project's lead scientist, spent 3 years watching his supercomputers simulate the birth of galaxies, the formation of galaxy clusters, the emergence of the cosmic web itself. Night after night, he would sit in his darkened laboratory, surrounded by the hum of processors running calculations that would have taken human mathematicians millions of lifetimes to complete by hand. What he saw changed him. The first time I watched the full simulation run, Springle later told colleagues, I felt something I can only describe as cosmic vertigo. You're watching 13 billion years pass in a few hours. You see structures larger than anything humans have ever imagined, forming and dissolving like ripples on a pond. After a while, you start to lose track of scale entirely. Galaxies begin to feel like dust particles. Galaxy clusters feel like neighborhoods. Your sense of what's big and what's small just breaks. But Springle's experience was mild compared to what happened to Dr. Miguel Aragon at Johns Hopkins University. In 2008, Aragon developed new visualization techniques that allowed researchers to fly through simulated cosmic structures in real time. Using virtual reality headsets connected to supercomputers, scientists could experience what it felt like to travel between galaxies. Zoom from the cosmic web down to individual star formation regions. Witness the universe from perspectives no human being had ever achieved. Aragon spent months inside these virtual cosmos, mapping the dark matter scaffolding that holds the universe together. His colleagues began to notice changes. He would emerge from VR sessions disoriented, struggling to readjust to normal human scales. He reported difficulty relating to everyday problems, traffic jams, work deadlines, personal conflicts, all seemed absurdly trivial. After spending hours contemplating structures spanning billions of light years, you develop a kind of cosmic dissociation, Aragon confided to a close friend. Human concerns start to feel like ant politics. You know intellectually that your mortgage payment matters, that your relationship with your spouse matters. But emotionally, it's like trying to care about the arrangement of sand grains on a beach when you've just seen the ocean. The psychological effects became so pronounced that Johns Hopkins instituted mandatory counseling sessions for researchers working on cosmic visualization projects. They called it scale shock syndrome, a form of existential vertigo triggered by repeated exposure to perspectives vastly beyond normal human experience. But the most disturbing case came from Dr. Amanda Torres at the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics. In 2015, Torres created what she called the God's Eye View Project, a virtual reality system that combined data from multiple cosmic surveys to create the most comprehensive three-dimensional map of the observable universe ever constructed. Users could zoom seamlessly from their location on Earth out to the cosmic microwave background, seeing every galaxy cluster, every filament of dark matter in their proper cosmic context. Torres became the first human being to spend more than 100 hours inside this system, meticulously checking the data for accuracy. What she discovered wasn't just astronomical, it was psychological. After her 50th session, Torres began experiencing what she described as temporal displacement. She would find herself thinking in cosmic time scales. Impatient with processes that took mere months or years to unfold, she started referring to human civilization as recently emerged and spoke about historical events as if they had happened moments ago. Colleagues reported that she seemed to be developing difficulty distinguishing between past, present, and future. Time becomes meaningless when you can zoom from the formation of the first galaxies to the present day in seconds, Torres wrote in her research notes yesterday. And 13 billion years ago start to feel like the same moment. I'm beginning to understand why the overview effect is so psychologically destabilizing. The human mind isn't designed to process these scales of space and time. By her 90th session, Torres was experiencing full dissociative episodes. She would emerge from the virtual cosmos unable to recognize her own reflection, describing her body as a temporary arrangement of particles, and expressing confusion about why she should care about its needs. Her research assistant found her one morning staring at her hands with genuine bewilderment, as if she couldn't understand how consciousness had become localized in such a small, finite form. The Harvard administration quietly shut down the God's Eye view project after Torres was hospitalized for what doctors diplomatically termed reality integration disorder. But the damage was done, and the precedent was set. For the first time in human history, technology had allowed someone to approximate the impossible perspective we've been exploring, and the results were exactly as terrifying as theory had predicted. Torres recovered, mostly, but she never returned to astrophysics. Today, she teaches elementary school mathematics, finding comfort in small numbers, finite problems, and questions that human minds can safely comprehend. Other researchers took notice. New protocols were established. Exposure limits were implemented. Psychological screening became mandatory for anyone working on cosmic visualization projects. But the work continues. Every year, the simulations become more detailed, the virtual reality more immersive, the approximation of cosmic perspective more complete. We're building the technology to see everything, everywhere, all at once, and we're discovering that the human mind might not survive the view. The question isn't whether we'll achieve ultimate cosmic perspective through technology. The question is, what will become when we do? Perhaps we've been asking the wrong question all along. We've spent this entire journey obsessing over what we can't see, lamenting the boundaries of human perception, dreaming of impossible viewpoints that would show us everything at once. But what if our narrow slice of reality isn't a prison? What if it's a gift? Think about the last time something genuinely surprised you. Maybe it was an unexpected text from an old friend. Maybe it was discovering a new song that perfectly captured how you felt. Maybe it was simply the way afternoon light fell across your kitchen table in a pattern you'd never noticed before. That moment of surprise, that spark of recognition, that sudden expansion of your world. It only exists because you can't see everything at once. If you had cosmic perspective, nothing could ever surprise you again. Every conversation you'll ever have, every discovery you'll ever make, every moment of joy or wonder that awaits you, you'd see it all simultaneously, robbed of the mystery that makes experience meaningful. The universe would become a book you'd already read, a movie you'd already seen, song you'd already heard infinite times. Our limitations don't diminish us, they define us. The fact that you can only be in one place at one time means that every place you choose to be matters. The fact that you can only live for a handful of decades means that every day carries weight. The fact that you can only love a finite number of people means that each relationship becomes precious beyond measure. Consider the simple act of learning something new. Right now, there are infinite things you don't know, infinite skills you haven't mastered, infinite perspectives you haven't considered. This ignorance isn't a failure, it's potential energy. It's the promise that tomorrow you might understand something you don't understand today, that next year you might become someone you're not quite ready to be yet. From cosmic perspective, all learning would be instantaneous and therefore meaningless. Growth requires the passage of time, and time requires the limitation. Seeing only one moment at a time. Even love depends on boundaries. You love specific people, not everyone equally. You care about particular outcomes, not all possibilities. Simultaneously, if you could feel the emotions of every conscious being across cosmic time. Love wouldn't be a choice, it would be background noise. The intensity that makes love transformative exists because it's focused, finite, fragile. This is why astronauts who experience the overview effect often struggle when they return to Earth. They've glimpsed something closer to cosmic perspective, and it makes human-scale concerns feel trivial. But maybe the problem isn't that human concerns are too small. Maybe the problem is that cosmic perspective is too large for consciousness to inhabit, without losing what makes consciousness valuable in the first place. Your narrow slice of reality, this moment, this place, this brief spark of awareness reading these words contains multitudes. Within the boundaries of your human perspective lies every emotion you'll ever feel, every connection you'll ever make, every moment of beauty that will ever move you to tears. The fact that it's limited doesn't make it less. It makes it everything. The ancient Greeks had a word, kairos. Unlike chronos, which measures time as duration, kairos refers to the supreme moment, the right time, the moment when everything comes together in perfect significance. Kairos only exists from a limited perspective, from consciousness that experiences time as a sequence of moments, rather than an eternal simultaneous now. You are living in Kairos right now, this moment. Reading these words, wondering about your place in the cosmos. This is your narrow slice of infinity, and it's exactly as large as it needs to be. The question isn't how to see everything. The question is how to see this moment clearly enough to recognize it for the miracle it already is. You wanted to see everything, but maybe you already do. Right now, sitting exactly where you started this journey, You've just accomplished something that should be impossible. Without leaving your room, without stepping outside space-time, without dissolving into cosmic consciousness. You've imagined what it would be like to see the entire universe at once. You've pictured 13 billion years of cosmic history unfolding simultaneously. You've contemplated the birth and death of stars, the rise and fall of civilizations, the infinite complexity of reality itself. And you did it all from inside a skull barely larger than a cantaloupe, using a brain that weighs 3 pounds and runs on the energy of a light bulb. This is the deepest paradox of human consciousness. Our physical limitations are absolute, but our imaginative reach is infinite. You cannot step outside the universe to observe it, but you can conceive of what such observation would entail. You cannot experience cosmic perspective directly. You can understand why it would be transformative and terrifying. You cannot see everything at once, but you can imagine what that sight would cost. In a sense, imagination is humanity's solution to the impossible perspective we've been exploring. Through stories, through thought experiments, through the strange magic of consciousness contemplating itself, we transcend our biological boundaries without abandoning our human nature. We achieve cosmic perspective, temporarily, safely, reversibly, and then we return to our narrow slice of existence with expanded appreciation for both the cosmos and our place within it. This might be why consciousness evolved at all. Not to see everything directly, but to imagine everything completely. The universe spent billions of years creating structures complex enough to contemplate their own existence. And that contemplation, that moment when matter becomes aware of itself, might be more profound than any impossible viewpoint could ever be. Think about what you've experienced in the last few minutes. You've traveled from your room to the edge of space-time. You've witnessed the psychological dissolution of cosmic perspective. You've understood why limitation might be necessary for meaning. You've imagined the unimaginable and comprehended the incomprehensible. And you did it all through the simple act of curiosity, by asking a question that seemed to have no answer, and discovering that the question was the answer. Because here's what we've really been exploring: not whether you could see the entire universe at once, but why you would want to. The desire for ultimate perspective reveals something fundamental about human nature. Our refusal to accept boundaries, our hunger for understanding, our willingness to imagine ourselves out of existence, if it means glimpsing truth. This curiosity, this relentless questioning, this capacity to wonder about things far beyond our direct experience. This is what makes consciousness precious. Not because it allows us to know everything, but because it allows us to care about everything. Not because it gives us unlimited perspective, but because it makes our limited perspective meaningful. The view from here, from inside your human life, your human mind, your human moment, is exactly the view the universe created consciousness to have. You are not a flawed observer struggling against the boundaries of biology. You are the universe's way of experiencing itself. One beautiful, finite, impossible moment at a time. And maybe that's the most cosmic perspective of all. Understanding that the question, what if you could see the entire universe at once, isn't really about seeing. It's about being. It's about recognizing that consciousness itself is already the most improbable, most precious, most utterly impossible thing that reality has ever produced. You wanted to see everything at once, but you're already something far more amazing. You're the universe, looking at itself through your eyes and marveling at the view.